This administration and me for not using the phrase radical Islam. What exactly would using this label accomplish? What exactly would it change?
That was President Obama slamming Republicans just days after the Orlando terrorist attacks. The president says using the term radical Islam accomplishes nothing, but you know what? My next guest says that's just woefully negligent and blind. Joining me right now, the president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. Dr. Jasser, good to see you. You heard President Obama. He says it's not going to accomplish a darn thing. Why do you dispute that?
Well, because number one, it's dishonest and it's insulting. I mean, to me as a Muslim, as we finish our holy month of Ramadan, that happened now, our holiday is only going to be 2 days after another great holiday, the Declaration of Independence and our Independence Day, about a country founded on fighting theocracy. He insults Muslims by telling us we can't have this conversation. And this week, Senator Cruz led a hearing in the Senate in which we had an adult conversation about how you can define radical Islam, and that the precursors, the reason it matters, it's not just semantics, Trish, is the precursors of the Omar Matins, of the San Bernardino couple, of Paris, of Belgium, of Istanbul. The precursors, we are in war. And if you're going to find the precursors, you have to look at the Sharia ideology, the jihad, all of these terms that have been stricken, completely removed and purged in an Orwellian, dishonest fashion, have hamstrung our homeland security. So 2 days later, Jay Johnson was just testifying, and he still has blinders on and insults the American people, all the while we know if they're doing honest work, they're looking at these ideas because we're at war.
Yeah, you know, Dr. Jasser, you were part of that testimony there before Congress, before the Senate. You spoke and you really stressed that we need to at least admit what this is. Can we really go after an enemy like ISIS when we're not even willing to confront that this is coming from a perverted part of the religion?
You can't. And the cognitive dissonance over and over that you got from some of the Democrats who were asking the other Muslim on the panel, who was an Islamist apologist, Farhana Kara, who wanted to deny or basically insult Americans, that's saying that once we start talking about it, somehow bigotry is going to be unleashed. And my response is that actually what demonizes Muslims is the lack of response. What makes people afraid of us is the fact they don't see us Muslims being empowered to deal with it and encounter it and reform. But instead, we are basically beholden to the Islamic narrative from Saudi Arabia, from Iran, and that's the elephant in the room, is that what the president doesn't want to talk about is that he so much wants to cater to our so-called allies that that's why they don't want to shift the axis from countering violent extremism to countering violent Islamism, because then it'll be no longer just NATO doing this, but they want the Islamists to still be on our side, which are the cauldrons brewing this.
How much influence does, say, a group like CARE have with the president and his administration versus, say, someone like yourself?
We have zero, by the way. The reformists don't even have a seat at the table because they won't call it that, number one. Number two, my testimony highlighted how the Islamist groups, be it CARE, be it Muslim Public Affairs Council, the Islamic Society of North America, these Muslim Brotherhood apologist and legacy groups are the reason why there's so much of this censorship happening, because their oxygen is about apologizing and being part of the insurgency of the ideas of the Islamic State, and they're advising them. And we showed in my testimony that was submitted for the record, person after person on the Homeland Security Advisory Committees and others that are part of this Islamist movement. And meanwhile, us Muslim reformers don't even have a seat at any of their tables.
Wow, that needs to change. He needs to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Dr. Jasser, thank you very much. All right,
Thanks,
here we
Trish.
are, everyone. Just about